Catherine Moon, yeah.
Moon, okay. It's on my TBR.
Yes.
See, there's that TBR again.
Always.
Stacking.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's like a refrigerator where you just have a huge, you have so much to eat and you just open it and you're like, oh my gosh, what do I eat? Should I get carry out?
Right, exactly.
Always. Let me
always, yes.
Right. I guess that's like an ARC. It's like, I'm going to sign up for an ARC instead, even though I have a huge TBR.
No more.
I had people who were like, I really wanted to sign up for an ARC, but I felt so overwhelmed. And like, I understand because I actually am not on a lot of ARC teams. Like before I started writing, even I didn't really try and get them very often because I didn't want to feel obligated. So I can understand not wanting to get ARCs and to back off ARC teams and stuff like that. Like I had some people who signed up way in advance and I like sent out a message before I sent out ARC saying, hey, if you need to back out of this for whatever reason, it's not personal. I get it. I don't want this to feel like work. Reading should be your hobby. Please don't make it work by forcing yourself to read something that you feel overwhelmed by, like just the prospect of. So yeah.
I always appreciate that when I get those now and then with certain writers, and they'll send out that like, if life is just not, even when I'm on a team and it's on that like Facebook ARC team page and they're like, hey, if you just, life isn't working for you today and this week and you can't ARC it, just let me know. It's like, thank you. Because sometimes it's like, you get on all these ARC teams because you love the writers, but it's like, I feel like sometimes it's just like everything's happening and you're like, how am I going to read 5 of these books and like review them because they're all out on the same day? Like, so it's just like, it's nice when like they actually like understand, you know, and it's like, thank you so much. Because like I want to enjoy the book too. Like, and if I'm on your ARC team, it's because I want to be. And so like I want to enjoy it. So like when it does feel like work, it's nice to have that out.
Definitely. And I feel like as a reader, like there's kind of like some mutual responsibility with it too. So if you don't get that email, like never feel pressured to read an ARC just because you are already signed up with them or you've already read a lot from them in general. Like I definitely had this conversation with Megan before where I'm like, hey, just send them an email. They're most likely going to say, hey, if you still want the ARC to read on your off time, like when you do get a chance, we'll send it your way. Or if you want to read it on Kindle Unlimited, that's fine too. Because honestly, if you don't want to sign up for an ARC, that's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, your authors want your reviews. It's super important for them because the algorithm for Amazon is so hard to get into that you can't even hit it until you get 50 reviews. Like Amazon will do nothing to help you with your book until you get 50 reviews as far as their algorithm goes. So, but if you're someone who knows that no matter what you read, you're always going to review it. If you liked it, then go ahead and read it on Kindle Unlimited when it comes out. Like, don't even worry about doing the ARC. Just do it whenever you have the time, because then you're paying the author, but you're also still doing the same thing that you would have if you were on the ARC team. So either way, your authors are going to appreciate you. So
very true. Very true. I always try to write a review. Sometimes it takes me a while.
Yeah.
Especially if I am having kind of like a book hangover from the book. It takes me a while to actually wrap my head around what I want to say about it. Or else like on the times where it is an ARC and I need to do it quicker, it ends up being this big thing. And usually that's when I'm like, sorry, my head's all over the place because wow, this book. You know? So.
Yeah. Process and digest it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think from you came into being an author from the book world and from being a reader. So I feel like you have a good grasp on what it's like to be a reader and be in an ARC team. Do you think that really helped you in becoming an author and in this being, having prior experience in the book community?
I think it taught me to be a little less sensitive about reader opinions, because they're critics. That's what they are. Like, let's be real. That's what your ARC team is. They are there to be critical regarding the product you provide them. So even though they're getting a free copy, you're asking for an honest opinion about it. So it definitely taught me to be a little less sensitive and kind of prepare for the fact that people might not like this. It might not be up to par for them. But I try to be super encouraging as an author to have that conversation with me. Like, I put it in all the communication that went out to everyone on my ARC team. Like, if for some reason you find yourself leaning towards a really low review on this, why don't you reach out to me before I publish it? Like, or if you think that you're going to have to DNF it, why don't you reach out to me and tell me why? I didn't end up having anyone that reached out to me. I had some typo like messages or whatever, and then some formatting because the ARC formatting went out completely wonky because I used a new program that wasn't quite ready, I guess, for what I was going to do as that distribution goes. But yeah, I tried to be super encouraging to just have that conversation with me, like in whatever manner works for you. If it's submitting on the Google forum that this just wasn't a read for you, or if it's sliding to my DMs, what do you need to do to communicate to me why it wasn't for you? Because if it's just not to your taste, that's fine. Don't read it, don't review it, whatever. Like DNF it if you have to. You shouldn't waste time on a book that bores you or you can't find yourself leaning into or like getting it. If you can't fall in love with one of the characters by the end of the first book, it probably wasn't a book for you. Like if you can't relate to anyone at all, it's probably not a book for you, and that's okay. Go read something you enjoy. Don't make this work ever. So
you appreciate the feedback.
I love feedback. I think most people would tell you that I'm very receptive to it. As long as it's tangible feedback, please don't give me like silly feedback, but and not that feedback can be silly. I just mean in the general sense of
like too much sex or whatever.
If I was gonna be a little bit petty, please don't let your feedback be that there were too many F-bombs, because I am not going to stop using the F word. And if that is a problem, then my books are not for you, because if anything, I could see them getting worse. And that review makes me want to do it more. So
yeah. I actually saw a review. I forgot what I was doing. I think I was looking for an audiobook for a trip, and somebody reviewed it. I don't know who. I have a picture of who they look like in my head for some reason, but she basically was saying this book is horrible. No one should read it because they curse the Lord's name too many times or something like that in it. And I was like, okay, well, because here I am looking at, my style of books. So I'm like, you're just reading the wrong books, lady. Like I could give you a recommendation of like some really sweet romances where they probably wouldn't say like, God damn it, or something if that really bothers you, but I'm like, I'm like, just, you don't review it, or just say like, this wasn't for me because, of this. And I'm, but I don't. Some people, it's like, I read some reviews and I'm like, you could have just kept your mouth shut, because obviously you don't like dark romances. That's fine. Read what you like. Read your sweets, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Stick to what's good for you. But it's hard because I don't know if you guys have ever like hardcore creeped on reviews and like gone to the 1 stars or the 2 stars. Then like gone to that profile. Almost always, it's always like when I've seen it happen that way, and it's not been a really good like critical review in the sense like, this really bothered me because this didn't make sense to the character, this didn't make sense to the storyline. If it's just too many F words, whatever it is, you can go to their profile and you see where they're consistently lowballing authors, and it's just like, why did you waste your time? Like, do you know how important authors find those reviews? Like I search for feedback in them like obsessively, but eventually I'll get to where I'm kind of cognizant of the fact that I'm obsessive about things. So I give myself time limits to be obsessive. So I just kind of ended my time limit. I gave myself the first week to be obsessive over reviews and to check them every day. And now I'm going to not do that. And I'm going to limit myself to once or twice a week just to keep it healthy for me. But that's my own practice. So that's just what works for me. But yeah, you go and you creep them and you know what kind of readers they are. And it's like, you just wasted so much time of your life, not only like reading the book, but also writing the review. Like at that point, whatever. And then I see all of the trash talk on TikToks where it's like, well, reviews aren't for authors, they're for readers. And I agree with you. They are. Like, it definitely will help me find my next read if I'm scouring reviews about it, if I'm not sure about it or whatever the reasoning is. But it doesn't mean that the author that you're reading isn't going to see them. It doesn't mean that they aren't going to take your feedback to heart. They can be sensitive. They're allowed to have their feelings about what you wrote, just like you're allowed to have feelings about what I wrote. So if you got the lady balls to drop a negative review, then you should be prepared for the fact that the author's going to see it, and possibly you could take their whole life off course depending on the kind of person they are. So
well, I think it's very important to write a review that gives feedback if you don't like the book. If you're going to take the time to write a review, if you're going to finish a book that you're not into, I think it's very important to put why you lowered the stars and not just be a troll. But you know what? I am finding that like this new resurgence in groups where they will take low reviews that say this book is too smutty or this book curses too much, and then they will go read the book because they're like, oh well, that's my type of thing. So I've been seeing that a lot in groups lately, where they'll take the 1-star review that just like batch the book over like the dumbest things, and they'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go read this book now because your 1-star review just told me how much I'm gonna love this book.
I only read the 1 and 2 stars reviews, sometimes the 3. I never, if I am researching whether or not I want to read this book, I always go to the really low scores, because I'm going to find out whether or not it's actually something I want to read based off how negative they are about it. Because if they're straight up like, oh my God, the sex scene didn't even make sense. Like what girl at 17 is going to let 2 guys tag team her? And I'm like, oh my God, that's for me. Like that's what I dream about at night. Thank you so much for giving me the heads up that this is exactly what I needed on my TBR. Thank you.
Right? Exactly.
Well,